Welcome to Breaking Down the Thesis. My name is Grace Woodward, and I'm here to chat with you a little bit today about how we write thesis statements for Maryland History Day. So first, the big question, right? What is a thesis statement? Is it a fact? Is it an opinion? And really, it's not either one. Instead, the thesis statement is an interpretation. The thesis statement is the thread that ties together your interpretations of all the significant moments, patterns, developments, changes, and contradictions that you'll develop in the body of your project. I really like to think about the thesis statement as a promise. The thesis statement is a promise you're going to make to your reader, and it's your job as a historian to fulfill that promise using specific evidence throughout your History Day project. Right? You're introducing your topic, you're introducing an argument, and you're going to talk about that throughout the entirety of your project. So a thesis statement can be several sentences. It does a lot, right? Thesis statements introduce the who, what, where, when. They introduce the short-term and long-term impacts of your project, and they connect to the annual History Day theme. Additionally, a thesis statement makes an argument about why your topic matters in history. It's going to answer that question of so what? Why should people care about what you're talking about, and why should they care about this moment in history? So a big question we get a lot about History Day theses is what shouldn't they look like? Or is your thesis statement making an appropriate claim? Is it making an appropriate argument? So one thing to remember is that your claim must be a historical interpretation that you can support with evidence. Two common issues that we see that I always recommend students avoid are if-then statements and judgment calls or opinions. Both of those kinds of thesis statements, both those kinds of claims aren't provable. They can't be supported with evidence. So here are two examples of thesis statements that don't really work for History Day projects. Without Navajo code talkers, the U.S. would have lost World War II. That's kind of in that if and then territory. We can't know what would have happened if the Navajo code talkers had never been around. We can only know how they impacted World War II and what they did do. So this topic you can't really support with any kind of historical evidence. Additionally, this argument, George Washington was the best president of all time, is really based in an opinion. It's going to be hard to compare George Washington to every single president ever, and it's really going to be a question of what people value and what means something to others. So that's another one that's really hard to prove or support with historical evidence. So now let's talk a little bit about what to look for in a great historical thesis for History Day projects. So this is what we do want to see in History Day theses. We want to see the who, the what, the when, and the where. We want to see the connection to the theme, answering what was the communication and how was it used, and why is this event important in history? There's short-term and long-term impact. And this communication relates to the 2021 theme. Each year for History Day, the theme is going to be different. We're going to think about communication for this thesis I'm about to show you. So take a second to pause here if you want to try to break this thesis down on your own, but I'm going to run through it real quick. So from 1933 to 1944, Franklin Delano Roosevelt periodically held fireside chats, radio broadcasts in which he presented his political ideas, programs, and responses to current events that reached over 60 million Americans across the country. These broadcasts helped Roosevelt gain public trust and support for his programs, helped Americans understand the political decisions of the president, and ultimately changed the way the president communicates with the public. So I've underlined some of the key points here. So think about identifying those if you'd like, and let's move on to breaking it down. So we've got the who, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the what, fireside chats, when from 1933 to 1944, where in the US. Let's break down the more complex parts, right? How does a thesis statement connect to the theme? We can see that in its discussion of radio broadcasts and how radio broadcasts changed the way the president communicated with the public and the short-term impact, helping Roosevelt gain public trust and support for his programs, helped Americans understand the political decisions of the president, and also the long-term impact, right? Then FDR's radio broadcasts ultimately changed the way the president communicates with the public. So I know we ran through that kind of quick, but thanks so much for listening, and I hope this helped you understand the thesis statement a little bit more. If you want to learn more, we've got a lot more at mdhumanities.org about how to write the thesis statement and different thesis statement examples. You can also always feel free to reach out to me, Grace Woodward, and you can look more at NHD's website and Maryland History Day's website as well. Awesome. Thanks so much. Have a great one.